Strive Coaching Studio, guiding business leaders to meet the highest version of themselves. And now, here's Michelle, certified coach and founder of Strive Coaching Studio.
Hi, and welcome to the podcast. This is podcast number 44. And I'm so happy to be talking to you today after a little pause that I've taken while I've worked on some really big and exciting changes ahead. So as I begin to share that with you, I want to tell you that one of the traits that I've always had that serves me, I think, pretty well, most of the time anyway, not all the time, is that I'm very willing to go in and try something, even if it's new, even if I don't know what I'm doing, and even if there are pretty good odds that I will, quote unquote, do it wrong, whatever that even means. I love to just get out there and test things out, see what happens, try to learn what I can from all of it, take it all in. Then I know that I'm willing to shift and change to adjust to whatever comes, whatever's necessary as I learn and gain from it, from the experience. I just collect the data. So this podcast has been one of those things for me. I knew I had so much value that I wanted to share, so I just started doing it. I just decided, and then I started. The two necessary steps toward creating new results in life: decide and start, right? And what I have learned over a year of bringing this value in the form of a podcast is that I want to be certain that I speak to the audience I know very directly. And to do that, I've decided that I'm going to rename this podcast and change up the format a bit in order to bring the most value I can to those who want to gain and learn from it. So, all that to say, the next podcast that you hear from me will be called the Work in Progress Podcast. So super exciting, right? Now listen, it is not just a name change. It's an entire attitude overhaul. It will apply the analogies of how we are all a work in progress at all times and allow us to become aware of our own work, our own progress, and our ownership in what creates success and results, as well as what doesn't, in both business and in life. So we will look, measure, and adjust to meet our plan, just like a work in progress report would do for us, allow us to do. So get ready, because it's going to be so good. I'm really excited about it. Now, to be fair, let's start with the definition of what a construction work in progress is, just to give a reference point. Now stay with me. If this is not your thing, if you're not into finance and accounting and you don't want to be, it's okay. Just stay with me. We're going to get past this in a minute. But for the sake of setting the tone, I really want to be clear that by definition, a construction work in progress refers to the costs related to the work in progress of each incomplete work related to the construction of long-term assets and fixed assets. It's a debit balance, and it's treated as an asset in the future, and thereby it's recorded on the assets side of the balance sheet under the head of non-current long-term assets until the construction has been completed. Now, these costs are not depreciated in the books of accounts until the asset is fully ready to use and it's been put into service for the business. Okay, then it can be depreciated because that's when it has become a potential revenue stream and is being deployed for use in the business toward profit. Now, the advantages are that it gives a clear vision to the company for its future costs. The construction work in progress helps to control unwanted costs. It also, the work in progress account, measures all the expenses and allows its users to prevent wastage of money in various different areas. And it helps management to control its risk factors for whatever future events may take place. Now, the disadvantage, the only real problem here is that there can be some forecasting mistakes that management can make for which there could be mixed planning for future events or future forecasting. So being aware is very critical. But in conclusion, a construction work in progress is an account that measures everything about the costs and the expenses, etc., when the construction is still going on, still not completed, and the service is not put to use. And this account helps the management to predetermine many costs and future billings to plan all its expenses. So this is before a home gets completed, before it's available to sell and close with a buyer. It is considered a work in progress. Now, that was the analogy. Now let's apply it to us. As I mentioned, in essence, we are all a work in progress, and we always will be. Your WIP, so to speak, is always an asset on the books and otherwise, which means we are assets. You are an asset. We are all an asset to ourselves. And it's the way to properly plan for what is ahead by strategically analyzing where you are, where you're going, and how to best forecast and plan to get there the most efficiently and effectively without waste, by minimizing risk, minimizing waste. So it's true and valuable in business, and it's just as true and valuable in life. In fact, if we can treat ourselves as a work in progress and look at ourselves in the same way, we will actually be better at doing that in our businesses. So in business, we carefully evaluate how many homes or other asset, because this can apply to many things, that we have in progress at each stage of construction or production, to see how long it will take before they can service the business as a profit or revenue opportunity. And what needs to happen to ensure we run efficiently and smoothly, to plan for the costs involved ahead. It's the careful balance between managing the costs ahead to create the WIP, because you have to spend money to produce, right? And then when the WIP can become a revenue provider instead. So it's a measure that all builders and companies of any product must watch at all times to ensure bills can be paid and profits can be expected and ensured, and when. Okay? Now in life, as a WIP, we have the opportunity to become aware and measure our own stage for where we are and what we have to learn and how we want to grow, and become aware of putting our assets to best use to return and serve us best, to bring in revenue, to bring in profit for us, right? To serve us. So it's our opportunity to wisely evaluate what's ahead for us and plan for it in the best way that will serve us to carefully balance between investing in ourselves and growing ourselves in the areas that will serve us best, all toward becoming our own best investment to our future. Okay? Where are we wasting energy? Where are we wasting time or other resources and money? When can we expect a return on what we focus our energy toward? Do we like the strategy and the decisions we made to get there? This is how we measure and analyze our WIP. So here's 2 ideal construction-related examples to explain the value of a WIP report and how they can be analogous for us. So the first one is, as part of the analysis and report, we might look at what is commonly called the red flag report. And this is a report for the homes or other products that are stuck at a stage of production, not moving, yet costing money. And in fact, have already costed money. So it's just money sitting there doing nothing, not producing anything for us if it's stuck. And it's at risk of delaying the return of that revenue. And these become a big highlight of attention, and we analyze it and put pressure on these particular homes so that they can begin moving again, so that we can get unstuck, continue to produce, even though we'll continue to spend money on them, so that we can get the payoff, so that we can bring in the revenue, right? The second analogy, the second related example, is that the speed of production is really important in measuring the production time as part of the critical analysis. So on average, how long does it take to progress from one stage of production to the next? How do those statistics compare to previously determined expectations and the business plan? What's happening in real life versus what we thought, right? If taking longer than expected as part of the analysis, what has occurred? What has changed? And then we must think strategically about what we need to do to change the expectation going forward. Was it unrealistic and not allowing us to plan financially to our best going in? Or did something occur that requires attention and correction to get back in keeping with the plan? So it's a great visibility as to what is happening on speed of construction from what we thought we were going to do versus what we actually did in reality. It allows us to highlight those areas. Now, the third example is that analyzing our WIP on a regular basis is critical to the financial survival of any company producing any product. So when poor planning occurs or when poor execution occurs, the company will be unable to meet its debt requirements to survive through the year, possibly not meet the demands of the investors or the banks or potentially the stockholders. So constant analysis, focus, and adjustment is critical to success and can quickly turn to failure if we take our eye off the ball. And so as long as we have a functioning, producing company, we will have WIP, just like we as humans do. We are always a work in progress. As long as we are functioning and we are producing, we are always a work in progress. And we want to be a work in progress because the alternative means we aren't building anything for the future that's going to pay us back. It's going to come back to us. So now these same questions and analogies can be applied to each of our lives. The first one is, are we taking the time to plan strategically for the results we want in our lives? Deciding on a result we want is step number one, and creating a strategy toward getting there is step number two. But we have to create a plan. The second, as we implement the plan, are we watching and analyzing how it's going and whether we're on track with the plan we thought we would follow? So where are we stuck, right? Where is the stage of construction not moving? Where have we stopped? Where we've put a lot of investment of time already and now we're stagnant? Where are we spinning around or stalled and require attention and focus right now to identify what's going on, what went wrong? How do we get back on track? It's critical to get things back on track to ensure you're using your resources wisely and strategically. So if you've already put resources into your work in progress, yourself, in your own investment of yourself, and then you get stuck, what are we going to do about that? How can we wisely and strategically get back on track so that we make sure we're using our best resources at all times for the payoff? And then number three, are you moving through the stages at the pace you had planned or expected? Maybe you moved more quickly than you thought. Maybe it's taking longer to get through certain aspects. Either way, this analysis is important to you to know and learn so you can deliberately choose whether something requires changing or adjusting. And then number four, are you looking at the data and analyzing the facts to gain, learn, and troubleshoot? This is not the time to put your head in the sand. Too often we think that avoiding the data and the facts protects us, but we all really know that information and awareness is the key initiator toward change and success. And then are we taking what we've learned to forecast the next plans more accurately, next year's plans, the following year's plans? How can we do it more accurately? Being willing to learn in order to sharpen the pencil even better for next time creates long-term momentum and so much more future success, right? Now you understand the foundation on which this new podcast will be built and that we are all a constant work in progress. So watch for the new episodes that will help you stay on track and keep your WIP in check. We're going to tackle topics and create strategies aligned with these concepts and analogies in mind. So I look forward to you continuing to join me, and please subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Don't be afraid to send this to a friend who needs to hear this too, for that matter. And come check out Strive Coaching Studio. That's where we keep our WIP in check each and every day. Come check us out. Thanks so much, and I will see you next time.
We'd love to hear your comments and your requests. Please leave us a review in the comments, and thanks for listening.